It has been shocking, and yet no one in the community is actually surprised. We actually expected that something like this could happen, and we have been dreading it, but we've been kicking and screaming for 2 years.
You've been in the media, you've been on my show a number of times, you're very active on social media, you've been lobbying politicians, bringing it to people's attention, trying to get other media interested in it. Why do you feel that nobody's been listening to the warnings?
I don't know why our government hasn't been listening to the warnings. I don't understand why there hasn't been decisive action. I don't understand why straight after the events at the Opera House there wasn't policy reform, there weren't arrests made. There are just so many things that I don't understand. I don't understand why the Muslim Brotherhood and Hizb ut-Tahrir weren't designated as terrorist organisations, and why it took our government so long to designate the Iranian regime. But what I find so sad today as I look at the crowd behind us is that it's taken a mass murder and a shooting for regular Australians to try and understand the plight of a tiny little community.
This is a point I've made many times when speaking with the Jewish communities. Is there a Jewish community is strong here? Anybody living in the eastern suburbs of Sydney or in those southeastern suburbs of Melbourne will be in contact with the Jewish community, but there are large parts of the country that don't even know Jewish people. They think it's someone else's problem, I think. I'm not attacking them for it, but they're not confronted with armed guards out the front of schools and childcare centres and synagogues. We need to convince all of Australia that this is their problem. We all share this problem because it's an assault on all of us.
This is absolutely an Australian problem. Yesterday may have been a shooting aimed at Jewish people celebrating Hanukkah, but there could have been many people in the crowd on Bondi Beach who had no affiliation with that event, and it may start with a Jewish event, but it never ends in a Jewish capacity. If you look at a lot of other terrorist attacks, they're much, much broader, and I fear that Australia could and will possibly still see something like that.
I've spoken to so many Jewish people over the past 2 years who have said they feel ostracised in Australia, they feel scared and under threat in Australia. Some have even contemplated moving to Israel or the US because they think they would feel more secure there. How much more palpable is that after yesterday's massacre?
It is more palpable, and ironically my youngest son is in Israel right now on a school trip with 120 students, and they rang me, the whole group rang me last night trying to understand what was going on, and I said to them, for 2 years the parent cohort has been meeting to decide whether it was safe enough to send them to Israel and whether they would be secure. And ironically, we are now so grateful that they are there, because if they were here last night, they would have been on Bondi Beach. So it is very ironic that we send our children to a country that's been at war for 2 years and that we feel they are actually safer there.
I spoke to a family today who had arrived from Israel for holidays with teenage daughters to this. They want to go back to Israel. How do we get our heads around a grown man shooting dead a 10-year-old girl?
I don't believe that we can get our heads around that. I spoke to someone at 3:30 this morning who was at the beach and involved in the attack. She was there with her family. She flew on top of her 2-year-old, and they witnessed 2 people being shot right next to them, and there was blood all over her. She has moved here from France because she wanted to escape anti-Semitism in Europe. So I don't believe we can get our heads around losing a child or a Holocaust survivor or any innocent civilians, Jewish or not Jewish.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us at this difficult time, Marnie.
Thanks for everything.
Marnie Perlstein, prominent member of the Jewish community here in Sydney.